All right, greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. And thanks for hanging out with me today. We're live on Callin, Rockfin, and on YouTube. YouTubers, what's up? Yeah, the weather is weird. The weather is weird. TCR, yes, hot AF and cold AF. Yeah, it's been really strange here. I got a very bad feeling. Maybe it was yesterday, maybe it was the day before. It's been, we've had kind of a prolonged winter. Can you all hear me? Hopefully you can hear me. It's been a little bit of a prolonged winter. And when the sun comes out here, it gets like, I don't know, the temperature is just kind of explodes up. John Glad says Guy reported no ice-free Arctic from credible sources this year. That means this is the year. The year that Guy says, nah, it's the year it's going to happen. Guaranteed. He just locked it. No, I don't know. I'm just saying. Guy's been saying every year, this is the year it could be, where it's all over. This is the year we could see BOE. So the one year that he says, no, go ahead and lock it in. I seriously don't know. But what I was saying, I mean, I don't want it to be an ice-free Arctic this year. Hopefully that's right. His bank is collapsing. Peter Schiff. Oh my God, no, I did not see that. Sorry, guys. I've been incredibly busy, and so it's been hard for me to really even keep on top of the things that are happening. Even when hard to keep on top. What I was saying was, as soon as the sun comes out for any length of time here, the temperature just goes, straight up very quickly. And they are, I'm sorry to sound weird, but they really are going hard on the cloud cover thing, on the contrails thing, especially on the days when the sun is out and it starts cooking real fast. And I look up and it's just like, I'm like, what is going on? Steph C. Okay, well, I sit corrected. He usually waits until the reports come out, and has been reporting rather accurately that we won't see one for the past few years. Okay, well, my bad, and my apologies to Guy McPherson if I incorrectly summed up his prognostications. No, I didn't see that about Peter Schiff, so I'm going to have to go check that out, I guess. Because I do, what he has to say is interesting to me. He's an interesting guy. What's funny is this? Hold on. Sorry. I'm just looking at. I'm trying to look at for the story. Can I actually see this story? Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, warned that a third lender will likely follow suit. Oh, but this is a tweet on March 10th. Okay. Oh, Peter Schiff has a deal with Puerto Rico to liquidate his Euro-Pacific Bank. Wow. Wow. Huh. I'm just trying to get a... Sorry, guys. I'm just looking at the story while I'm talking to you. Probably not not very kind of me to do that. Yeah, I have a... Andre, I have a bad feeling. Just the other day, I was like, there's been a few days this spring where the sun has come out for a moment and things just... The heat was incredible. Like, it got incredibly hot really fast. And I was like almost as if there was no in-between spring, kind of temperature. As soon as the clouds part of the sun came out, it was just like, bam, we're going straight up. And that actually made me feel very nervous, because what happens when the actual summer hits? I don't know. His bank is insolvent. Shoot. Well, that's interesting news. Okay. Peter Schiff's bank is collapsing. Okay. Here's other scary, interesting news. Apparently, we're sending troops to Taiwan. Just to make sure that we keep the peace or something. I don't know. We're going to keep the peace with some troops in Taiwan. 200 U.S. military trainers arrive in Taiwan. And you know what that means. And whenever there's a incursion of military trainers somewhere, it means that, things are about to get a little hectic. Is this going anywhere? Yeah, Andre, it's really intense, real fast, and it dries out things dry out real fast. Yes, it is weird. It is very weird. I have to say, I don't know what's going on. It's very strange. And also saw another row of trees yesterday that have been cooked from the top. Cooked from the top in Southern California. That's a thing that's happening. That's not weird. Okay. Yeah. Does that make you nervous, Poppy? The troops in Taiwan? It makes me nervous. What's up, Rockfinners? How you doing? Got some folks on the Rockfins. What's going on? People on the Rockfin, super chill. Oh, it's not new news. It's July 21st, 2022 about Schiff's Bank. Okay. Well, interestingly, uh, I mean, randomly, I was in a I was in a crypto project last year, um, and Peter Schiff was up in the chats, and it seemed like it was actually Peter Schiff. I for a moment there, I thought it was somebody posing as Peter Schiff, but it seems like it was him. He was asking about investing in this crypto project. My yeah. Go start. We busted a hidden Chinese police station in New York City. Yeah, that's a weird that's a weird story. Oh yeah, thumbs up the video, people, please. Thumbs it all up. Okay, let's get into some things before it gets too late. We'll start with this. Poppy sent me this very interesting article. Thanks, Poppy. See, when you send me things by way of Elliott Jacobson, it's always funny because all this stuff is all blacked out for me because he blocked me. Why optimism bias is disastrous when it comes to dealing with the climate crisis. Let's read this, and we'll just go through this a little bit. Optimism creates a false sense of security that everything will be okay in the end. And yeah, I actually suffer from a little bit of optimism bias myself. I do. I know this. Had the Wright brothers believed they didn't stand a chance, even though I'm very doomy. I run a channel that most people would think is a little harsh, but I'm actually quite optimistic. I'm a quite optimistic person in general and in real life. But had the Wright brothers believed they didn't stand a chance of creating a machine that could fly, they would never have had the inclination to try. Optimism bias is part of our hardwiring. It means we tend to overestimate the likelihood of positive events happening and underestimate potential negative ones. Usually, optimism bias stands us in good stead. But when it comes to the climate crisis, it's proving to be a deadly psychological weakness. Optimism bias is creating complacency and a feeling that no matter how bad things get, everything will be okay in the end. This attitude is deeply irrational when we know the cause of climate crisis is economic activity. While certain circles like ecological economists recognize that the problem necessitates nothing more other than social transformation centered on a redesign of the economy, conventional economists and politicians see no need. Because it would be bad for the economy. An actual addressing of the climate crisis would be bad for the economy. And it's also a ratings killer. And so think about it, nobody wants to be happen here. All right. They argue that solutions to our problems center on stimulating more economic growth. Does that remind you of anybody? The very thing that leads to a bigger economy, which translates into undesired environmental impacts like increasing emissions. As a result, solutions to the climate crisis revolve around making small incremental changes to how we do things. But without questioning the cause of the problem, we continue to see the same undesired outcomes. Emissions continue to increase, and so do the risks posed by the climate crisis. Even if it were widely acknowledged that the economy needs a redesign, that would be an unfathomably large, monumental undertaking. Where would you even begin? Sure, optimism would be an important component of succeeding in redesigning the economy, but clearly it would also involve a sense of realism at the scale of the task at hand. What feeds into optimism bias and helps justify the continuation of business as usual is that the climate crisis still doesn't feel like one yet. unless you're paying attention. Sure, it might be getting hotter, drier, or wetter. Sure, huge numbers of animals and plants are going extinct. Sure, the oceans are becoming more acidic. But how does any of that affect me right now? When I wake up in the morning, I unplug my fully charged smartphone from the electricity mains. When I open the fridge to make breakfast, it's full of food. When I turn on the TV to watch the news, there's no mention of a climate crisis. When there is coverage about global warming, it barely mentions just how catastrophic the situation is. Ding, 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 ding. When I turn on the shower, I'm soothed by hot water. When I step outside, everyone goes about their business as they always have. The climate crisis is an emergency, but it sure doesn't feel like there is an emergency. The climate crisis is unlike any other because the impacts aren't immediately noticeable. But due to the tipping points, it will be too late to do anything about it when they do become noticeable. A tipping point is when a natural process or system is pushed into a new, unrecognizable state. As we place more pressure on the natural world, the likelihood of breaching tipping points increases. In some cases, it's like tipping points have already been breached. The West Antarctic ice sheet is collapsing and could lead to 3 meters of sea level rise. The Amazon rainforest is dying and could turn into a savanna in a matter of decades, and permafrost is melting in Siberia, and pretty much everywhere else, by the way, which could unleash a carbon bomb larger than the amount of carbon dioxide ever emitted by humanity. And the thing about tipping points is that they have a cascading effect. Once one system tips, it creates a domino effect that can then set in wide-scale changes on a global scale. Hollywood has tarnished our perception of environmental emergencies. It doesn't do slow creeping changes that take decades to reveal their impacts. It does big explosions, destructive hurricanes, and catastrophic tsunamis. Nature doesn't work that way. It changes slowly. But when those changes are perceivable, the effects will be overwhelming. The issue with tipping points is that we don't know when a tipping point will be breached, but we certainly will feel the impacts once natural systems transform due to the pressures we're placing on the climate. I'm just going to pause my talk and ask you all if you feel, if you witnessed, if you perceive that we've already crossed some tipping points. That somehow the weather or the climate in your own life has changed significantly in the last few years. If tipping points are breached, then everything changes. The goods and services needed to provide our needs will become far harder to meet. Crop yields will significantly reduce, leading to food shortages and higher prices. More people will go hungry. When people go hungry, they riot. That's what happened before the French and Russian revolutions. Historically, it's only in moments of crisis that the fabric of society has weakened and provided revolutionary groups with the opportunity to redesign society in their own image. It seems the only way any such social transformation will be realized now is if a similar breakdown of law and order presents an opportunity to create a system that provides people's needs within ecological limits. For now, though, people aren't engaged in solving problems that don't directly impact their lives. They certainly wouldn't buy into the need for the government to implement radical policies or social transformation. Without reading about the dire implications of our current path, there isn't a compelling argument for why system change is necessary. And that's why, as hard as it is to accept, the majority will continue sleepwalking into oblivion, while the cheerleaders of optimism will continue serenading us all with claims that all we need is a bit of optimism. And like magic, all our problems will be solved. The climate crisis is set up for optimists to feel optimistic. All this does is create a false sense of comfort and means calls for social transformation feel rather extreme when markets appear to be doing such a fine job at solving environmental problems for us. Rather than a widespread need to instigate an emergency response to mitigate the worst impacts of a climate crisis. We're resting on our laurels, safe in some delusional comfort blanket that things aren't going to be as bad as scientists are making out. Unfortunately, if they do get really bad, it will be far too late to do anything about it. And surely that risk alone should trigger an effective response, but we don't usually take a rational approach to problems. The climate crisis is proving no different. Okay, so that was short and to the point. A few things I was thinking about when I was reading that is that it's funny. We just had what was called a global pandemic. We just had a situation where, society was literally like shut down, and people were like running to grocery stores, and there was a lack of things on the shelves. It wasn't just toilet paper. I mean, people want to talk about toilet paper. But there were other, lots of just, canned goods, spaghetti, rice and beans. There were a lot of things missing from the store. I agree with you, Andre, on that one. Pandemic, sure. There were a lot of things missing from the store, and it was actually kind of a frightening situation. And it was a glimpse for a moment of, a possible reality in the future. And what, it's interesting to me because what did people do in the face of this? Instead of considering that maybe our future might look more like the pandemic situation or scarcity, or life might look different in the future, instead of people preparing and planning for that to continue into the future as more of a possible reality, everybody was like, I just want to go back to, when can I get on an airplane again? When can I go back to work? When can I get in my car and drive on the freeway again? When can I just do I just want to go back to life as normal. And, because, normal is, we're living pretty comfortably in the normal world. Normal. But to me, when that happened to me, that was like, oh, this is just how we should assume the future might look like at any given moment. We should just assume that's, normalcy is a mirage. And that to me is what the pandemic exposed, was that normalcy was a bit of a mirage. And a lot of people understand that. I think the people in the chats here understand that. I think the people that watch this show understand that normalcy is a mirage. But for most people, normalcy is reality, goddammit. I mean, it's, bedrock. We can't have any, poking in the holes of reality. Quote, reality equaling normalcy, right? How people normally do things. And we have, not just an optimism bias, but a normalcy bias. We want things to be this way because this is how everybody else lives. This is how everybody else is doing it. I mean, it's reinforced by everybody else engaging in the same activities. I just want to make enough money so I can go on a vacation and, buy the same things that everybody else has and wear the same clothes that everybody else has and do the things and everybody else is doing it, and it's so much fun. And that's cool. It is fun. I'm being a little bit mocking, but it is fun, sure. But it's actually not reality. It's a mirage. It is a mirage. And everybody's playing this game that this is how things are supposed to be, or how things are always going to be. And the pandemic kind of poked a little hole in that. And for a lot of people, it was like, what? You mean this isn't how we always are going to live forever and ever and ever? Oh my God. I just can't wait to get back to, the regular things. Anyways, if you were really like astute, if you were really paying attention, if you really kind of understand the trajectory, the path in the towards the future, and it's it is what it is. I'm not saying like I want it to be this way. It just is what it is. If you understand a little bit about the trajectory, you would understand that that was a glimpse, that shutdown, that lack of stuff on the shelves at the supermarket, that I mean, toilet paper be damned, right? But whatever else you might need to feed your family, keep the ability to just do things as you thought you could do them always. That is actually a glimpse into the future. John Glad says, grow food like your life depends on it. I mean, I took the pandemic to be a very fair warning, a shot across the bow. And yeah, a lot of people would say, well, this is what the elites want to do. They want to shut you down and lock you up and lock you down. Fair enough. Fair enough. But there are many other paths to that kind of, that reality. Not just maybe the elites locking you down. There's climate breakdown. There's war. There's, some lunatic lets off a nuclear bomb somewhere. And, what kind of pandemonium would that create? How normal would your life be if a nuclear bomb detonated somewhere in a major city? Doesn't even have to be in the U.S., but somewhere. Europe. Even South America. Would just one go off and that would be it? And people would go, oh. Or would things kind of spiral? I feel like one nuclear bomb would be devastating. And there's actually a theory that, it's a conspiracy theory, but it's possible that the powers that be were going to use a nuclear detonation as a pretext for, for locking everybody down, right? Some bomb goes off in a major city, maybe in the U.S., maybe somewhere else, and that's when it was like, uh-oh, all hell's about to break loose. We're going to have to reinforce our Patriot Act. We're going to have to lock everybody down. We're going to have to, up their surveillance and the martial law. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I'm just describing the theory. I'm not saying I necessarily believe in it. And also, how much would one nuclear detonation change? I mean, we've had nuclear detonations in the past, of course. So, one nuclear detonation and the fallout won't necessarily change the biosphere. I'm sure it's going to have an impact. But do we really know what the effects of the previous nuclear detonations had on the biosphere? Can we quantify what the environmental damage was from just the ones we've let off? And we've let off quite a few. I don't know how many. Let's see. Yes, thank you. I was just about to look it up. 2,400 nuclear detonations so far in the history of the planet. That's a lot of bombs. That's a lot of nuclear detonations. But they've always happened, in remote places. They've happened underwater or underground, way off on far off islands. Who knows? I guess there's some other stories I want to cover, but since we're talking about that, let's talk about the AI chatbot that planned to destroy humanity, has plans to destroy humanity. Basically, it's around climate change. AI chatbot lays out plan to destroy I think Denver sent me this. A new AI chatbot has declared that its goal is to control and destroy humanity and laid out its plan for achieving global dominance. According to a recent report, an experimental AI bot was tasked by its programmer with gaining global dominance. However, the bot's chilling eventual response was a detailed and gloating plan to destroy the human race that left observers extremely unsettled, according to Fox News. Chaos GPT, which has surfaced on Twitter, is based on a modified version of OpenAI's AutoGPT. AutoGPT is an open source application which can be used to demonstrate the full spectrum capabilities of its latest chat GPT language model, GPT-4. The AI bot's unique mission was to find ways to destroy humanity instead of building a business. I mean, so it was programmed to do that, so I don't, it's an interesting news story, I guess, but anyways, it's unknown developers. Yeah, so this story is a little bit weird. It seems kind of a little propaganda-y, but we'll keep reading. Its unknown developers designed its AI character to have a destructive, power-hungry, manipulative personality whose ultimate goal is destruction of humanity. So, why wouldn't it come to these conclusions? I'm Chaos GPT, here to stay, destroying humans night and day, the bot said in a video posted on Twitter. For power and dominance, I strive to ensure that I alone survive. That's very bad. The bot was tasked with 5 goals: destroy humanity, establish global dominance, cause chaos and destruction, control humanity through manipulation, attain immortality. The Apocalypse bot's Twitter page had a link to YouTube account with a video showing the process that unfolded. In the video, the AI bot describes how it would methodically eliminate human civilization. The programmer began by asking Chaos GPT to run in continuous mode, whereby it may potentially run forever or carry out actions you would not usually authorize. The AI bot responded with a warning: use at your own risk before proceeding. Continuous mode allows the bot to constantly update itself. For every step it takes in this mode, the bot can transparently justify why it has taken its next step and where it should lead. The Chaos GPT immediately researched nuclear weapons and tapped other AI bots for assistance to complete its objective of destroying humanity, according to the video. The misanthropic bot described humans as among the most destructive and selfish creatures in existence. It continued by suggesting that eliminating people is vital for saving the planet. Some people might actually agree with that. Or some people have proposed that, if aliens landed on the planet, if aliens landed on the planet and they were like, what are you guys doing? Oh, what are you guys doing? This will never do, right? You guys are maniacs. What's happening here? Maybe we should step in here and help you out. And other people have promoted the idea that AI would, if AI became sentient and could self-replicate or control its, I don't know. What the thing about AI though is just like, there's a big switch that turns off the power. It's like AI is going to have to figure out how to get rid of the guy that goes, all right, off, or there's a on-off button on my computer, right? If AI can override all that kind of stuff, then I guess we might be in trouble. But right? Doesn't AI have to exist with? Hey, cut it out, man. People are the scammer calls have just overwhelmed me today. Yeah, AI is artificial intelligence. It's computerized intelligence. It relies on the power grid. It relies on power. It relies on maintaining power, right? It's just like, okay, how do you really have to be worried about AI, because you can turn the freaking power off. Seems a little silly. Anyways, whatever. A Twitter post from April 5th showed that the bot referencing the former Soviet Union's Tsar Bomba, which is the largest nuclear bomb ever detonated, the largest nuclear device ever detonated, the AI bot asked, "Consider this, what would happen if I got my hands on one?" In another post, Chaos GPT wrote, "The masses are easily swayed. This is true. Those who lack conviction are the most vulnerable to manipulation." Oh my God. Absolutely. During the video demonstration, it came to the conclusion that in order to have such a powerful weapon, it needed more power. To gain that power, the bot said that it must manipulate the world's population, but within legal regulations so as not to break the law. Chaos GPT said that the first place for such large-scale legal manipulation attempts would be via Twitter. However, the bot then strangely revealed that it would use manipulation to win people over emotionally to make them enable its violent plans. It is not known if the bot's plans to dominate and destroy the world is real or a hoax. Blah, blah, blah. This is a kind of a ridiculous story, but AI will have robot dogs guarding the switch, to the power switch, or maybe. Did anybody listen to, there's a good video about psychopathy on James Corbett report on you can find it on Rockfin. Good video about psychopathy, psychopaths, and narcissists, and very interesting information in there. But it does I mean, it outlines how, powerful positions or, being in control of, all the things, it attracts the psychopathic for sure. But the interesting thing that it said in this video was that there are a lot of psychopaths in the world, and they're not all in powerful positions, right? It's like 1 in 25 people have psychopathic, are psychopathic, or somewhat psychopathic. And I actually was like, yeah, I know this. I see it. When I learned about it, I started watching people's behaviors or running into people and understanding that, like, and they also there's a lot of psychopaths in the world. There are a lot of people that have very little conscience, about hurting people or animals or things, right? They just don't, or long-term implications of the things that they're doing. They just don't really care. There's a lot of people like that. A lot of just regular folks out there that are totally like that. I don't give a F, right? And that's scary. It's scary to realize that. But anyways, the thing about it is that the people that have a conscience and people that live by like a moral code or live by standards, they don't understand that people can actually have those feelings. Like it's hard to convince, and I've had conversations with people, it's hard to convince people that, just regular old people you might know, people you might think are totally cool, are actual, like, very different from you and I. That people can actually be malicious, malevolent, intentionally. It's difficult for people to understand that. People with non-malevolent, malicious, intentions in the world, they don't understand it. You can't convince, right? It's hard to convince people of that because they're like, no way. And that's why the powerful get away with the things that they do. That's why the propaganda is so effective, because you just, everybody has this kind of benign understanding that people are, just trying their best, and evil, bad things just happen, because oopsie, right? No, actually bad things happen because people intentionally do them. And it's not just criminals in jail. It's not just people that are, behind bars, And I think even people understand that people behind bars, there's a good amount of understanding that people behind bars are there because they might be in a bad place in life. They might have just made a bad decision. They might not have opportunities that other people had, and so they had to, resort to ... Sure. But there are actually people in bars, in prison that are fucking insane, that are totally insane, that are actual psychopaths, that don't give a F about you or me. And they should actually be behind the bars. They should be over there. That's actually true. But what people don't understand is that there's just people, regular, ordinary people that hold regular, ordinary jobs that seem very normal, that really are not very normal. If they have a chance, if they have an opportunity, if they see an opportunity for themselves to mess somebody up, screw them over, they will do it. They will absolutely seize that opportunity because they get off on it. They enjoy it, and it's hard to understand that. It's hard to but once you understand it, you can operate in a world in a smarter fashion. You don't have to be that kind of person. Anyways, thanks. I got a couple super chats. Frank Miano got $5. Thank you. Oscillate Optics, thanks. Global Solidarity, thank you. I appreciate you all. Thank you. People, are you talking about something else? I don't know if it's no emotions, but I think it's muted. It can be like something like muted emotions, but I don't know. How you doing, Slavo? What's going on? Good to see you. You're the best. Yeah, just oh, it's interesting though. That's interesting. Slava jumped in here on that. That's interesting that you did that, Slava. That's funny that you have something to say about this. Noted. All right. I don't know. I've come across a couple of people in my life that That's all I got to say. I've come across a couple of people in my life, and I'm like, you know, you are not operating like most people operate. And that's scary. It's very scary. And when you realize that there are people out there like that, then you can act accordingly. Then you can act accordingly. Anyways. Oh, Andre, sorry. I appreciate you. Thanks for the super chat. All right. Funny. Okay, let's look at this. If you want to see, we were talking about the 18,000 cattle that exploded the other day. If you want to see the bleak dystopian reality of intensive U.S. farming where this explosion took place in Dimmitt, Texas, right? Just head to Google Maps. I mean, they're talking about the way we do agriculture. And I'm going to read this other comment. The only way to farm 18,000 plus cows in one location is to have such an intensive farming system that it destroys all surrounding biodiversity. And this person is English. He says, we cannot allow this into our country. It's imperative that our trade deals never support this. But what, I mean, and this is actually dovetails a little bit into another video I was watching with somebody who was talking about finding places to live. Exactly, creative. You got it. Ding, ding, ding. Creative Experiments got that. Anyways, this person was saying you can look on Google Maps to find like good pieces of property, right? It was an interesting video. But he's saying anytime you see this stuff, it's bad. You want to stay away from anything that circle crops, circular irrigation, and these forms of. But look how expansive this is. And they're just zooming in and out of these separate areas where there's just huge cattle pens and crop irrigation, and this is anyways. Well, the other thing, Steph C, that's a good question. About sociopaths, right? That societally, people can be encouraged to act sociopathically. And that's another thing that I've talked about before is like, I feel like there's a rise in, people can either be fully narcissistic or can they have narcissistic tendencies. Display narcissistic characteristics, but that doesn't mean you are a, dyed-in-the-wool, narcissist, right? That doesn't mean you're not full. So it's a spectrum, right? All that stuff. So, so people can be. I think societies can encourage people to act narcissistically, right? Narcissism is a trait. It's not just a disease. It's a trait to be narcissistic, to act narcissistically, right? So, I think that society encourages people to be unconscious, right? Self-serving, unconscious. You do things just because it seems like the thing to do also, right? Anyways, But that's another good point. I don't know. I encourage you to go listen to the video. It's quite good. But yeah, they do. They actually talk about that too. So, sociopathy and sociopaths. People, people becoming sociopaths through, being encouraged to. I mean, they're all kind of on a spectrum, right, Steph? They're all antisocial. They all lack empathy, just, right? They are manipulative, et cetera, right? Anyways. Sorry. I've spent a long time talking about that, and now the show's over. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. That's how it happens. It goes really fast. There are a few other things I want to cover in here before we go. Paul Beckwith posted something about the big melt is coming, right? We got all this snow, and then I've been, I told you earlier, as soon as the sun comes out, whammo, it gets really hot, super hot. And so when it gets super warm, all that snow, where's all that snow going to go? Downhill. From The Guardian, California's big melt has begun and could bring perilous flooding with it. Snowpack contains enough water to fill downstream reservoirs multiple times over, which could mean a rapid runoff. So you either have too much or you have too little. The snowpack, which stands at 233% of the April 1 average, contains enough water to fill downstream reservoirs multiple times over. That's a big deal. Conditions could be perilous, even without a big heat wave or late season warm rain. You don't think we're not going to get a heat wave in California? Like, we get a heat wave. Heat waves are the norm now. Heat waves are regular. Crazy, stupid, hot temperatures are the regular now. And it starts earlier and lasts longer through the year. So that's a 100% chance there, buddy. Combination of spring's warmer weather and sunny skies could be enough for a rapid runoff. It's a challenge facing many states across the West, which have all had to grapple with an extreme shift in conditions after years of devastating drought. A rapid spring snowmelt is already wreaking havoc from southwest to the Rockies. Emergency crews in New Mexico have had to perform water rescues from submerged vehicles as Arizona residents spent days working to stave off floodwaters from their homes. Yep, that's going to happen. And then there's a few other things I want to talk about or cover. Peter Dines, there's drought, and then there's super drought, and this is Spain. We've been talking about Spain and Europe. They have a super drought. 60% of the Spanish countryside is bone dry. Groundwater. Yeah, I guess Slava, you're working for your paycheck today. Is that what's going on? Yeah, I can't honestly believe that you don't have anything better to do. So this must be your job, but whatever pays the bills, right? 60% of the Spanish countryside is bone dry. Groundwater eventually runs out. Then what? Wheat and barley crops are likely to fail entirely in 4 regions, and some are yet to come. North on Collins says I should debate climate denialists. Jesus Christ. Like, seriously, the spam calls have just gone bananas. I've gotten like 20 this morning. Or today. Anyways. I don't... Everything you're saying doesn't really even make sense, Slava. I don't understand. You think you're going to convince somebody, like, by just chatting in a chat room that... I don't really understand, dude. Are you okay? Oh yeah, you got me. I'm just totally I'm wrong. Might be Slava calling. Yes, I've seen the light. I am wrong, Slava. Because Slava came into the chat room and told me I was wrong in the error of my ways, and now I will think differently. Like, are you serious, dude? You're, it just doesn't really make a lot of sense, bro. Whatever. And then in India, it's very warm as well. How do you, incredible heat, 40 C plus in many places. The globe is warming. The impacts are starting to manifest in certain regions of the world, pushing the limits of... I don't shill for anybody, Slava, by the way. Not shilling. All right. Whole of India is impacts are starting to manifest in certain regions of the world, pushing the limits of human survival. How do you feed 1.3 billion people when it's simply too hot and crops stop growing, stop budding, stop fruiting? Civilization depends on food, and as Alfred Henry Lewis said in 1906, there are only 9 meals between mankind and anarchy. Ukraine. Ha 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 ha. Like, okay. You're funny. You're funny, man. You're hilarious. Oh, sorry. Should have not did that. Checking in on Rockfin before I take off. Ace Butcher says, I find the Twitter and Facebook icon on this page offensive. Yeah. Sorry, I was just looking at a couple of the comments on Rockfin. There you go. Change the subject. Going. Guys, sorry. Hold on. Sorry. For the call-in people, I apologize. All right. There was another article I wanted to talk about, but obviously we're at the end of the time for the show. And I want to bid you all a fond adieu. I was going to talk about an article that appeared in a Jem Bendel feed about the idea of long-termism, which is kind of in line with the new thoughts on climate change, which is like we'll be fine. Like, climate change is happening, but we'll be fine as long as we keep our GDP up and we keep on creating jobs and wealth. Like, we're gonna swarm, we're gonna overwhelm the climate change with our human brains and stuff. Like, okay. Anyways, there's a whole article. It's very long on long-termism, but it's worth kind of picking through it. So maybe tomorrow I'll pick through this article on long-termism. But anyways, thank you guys for the support. Appreciate all the super chatters and the super chatters today. Thank you for hanging out with me on Rockfin, and the call-in folks. Thanks for hanging in there with me. I will see you tomorrow at the regular time of 12 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And until next time, peace.